how would Lyndon Johnson think about Donald Trump? And I honestly feel that 36 would put his arm around 45 and earnestly wish him success. And he would also whisper in his ear something he said often as a form of encouragement and a cautionary tale. Just don't piss in the soup that all of us gotta eat. Thank you very much. Good night.
Imagine getting roasted so bad that even your spray tan peels off. Well, folks, Bryan Cranston just cooked Donald Trump, Walter White style. And let's just say, the orange never looked so well done in a takedown. So brutal, Cranston didn't just expose Trump, he annihilated him. How did the internet explode over it? And is Trump plotting his revenge on Truth Social? Let's break it down, because this one's wild. Think he's like a giant cargo ship, gigantic, commands attention, requires it. His wake creates huge, issues. His water displacement is huge. And yet you go into the cargo bay and you say, hello, it's empty, there's nothing there. Well, Donald Trump has been publicly destroyed once again, this time by no less than Bryan Cranston, a man who portrayed a criminal mastermind so convincingly that people actually began respecting high school chemistry teachers. And let's be real, Trump being roasted by a man who used to run a fictional meth empire is just peak irony, because really, who better to deconstruct Trump's nonsense than a man who made science cool again? He desires the title. He desires the title of president, but he doesn't desire the job of president. Even his own campaign manager, Paul Menard, said in an interview, well, his probable vice presidential candidate will have an extensive legislative background to do the things that Donald Trump doesn't desire and push policy and make bills down to Congress. And I'm thinking, wait, to do what he doesn't desire, to put forth his agenda, to create laws with a cooperative, it's like he doesn't desire it. No, I don't desire to do it. He just desires the job. I'm going off. You're getting me going here. Stump for Hillary. Absolutely. But Bryan Cranston recently unleashed on the ex-president in a manner so vicious that even Trump's hairspray was noticed, fleeing in terror. It was akin to viewing Walter White go Heisenberg on a political career already going down the drain. But let's give him credit. It is a career, calling it that is generous. Trump's stint in office was closer to a rather extended episode of The Apprentice, but instead of dismissing people, he simply dismissed them until it all fell apart. And somehow, in spite of this, he still managed to play dumb when his presidency concluded in complete disaster. Our president has a sense of bluster, and it's sad because it kind of undermines the duty and the responsibility of those diplomats who are doing everything in their power to negotiate and to try to reach a level of understanding. Cranston, of course, had no time explaining the sheer ridiculousness of Trump's never-ending series of grievances, because if there is anything that Donald is better at doing than avoiding taxes, it's being a victim. States Trump, he has been treated so unfairly, it's a miracle that he has not penned a tragic memoir titled How I Was Bullied by the Whole Planet. This man has been whining about persecution since the day he had to give a library book back, assuming that he's ever even handled one. And let's face it, if he did, it was probably The Art of the Deal, which, interestingly enough, was authored by someone else. He was made of Teflon. What he had said regarding John McCain was odious. What he said regarding women, what he said about Mexican Americans, what he said, it's like, oh my God, how can this guy be going up in the poll? And this is where it gets even sillier. After Cranston's magnificent takedown, Trump attempted to clap back. Now everyone knows Trump's insults pack about as much punch as a wet paper towel. So his comeback was roughly as potent as a hairdryer in a hurricane. It was the same tired old shtick, probably something about Hollywood being too woke, or actors needing to remain in their lane, which is rich, coming from a man who once body-slammed Vince MCM on live television. Bryan Cranston, on the other hand, has won numerous Emmys, starred in some of the best shows of all time, and successfully avoided being impeached twice, which is already more than Trump can claim. Now let's discuss Trump's base, who predictably lost their minds over this entire situation if there is one thing that they love more than an off-brand red hat. It's playing dumb and acting like their dear leader is beyond criticism. Suddenly, Bryan Cranston, who spent decades as one of Hollywood's most adored actors, became public enemy number one, because evidently calling out corruption, incompetence, and downright nonsense is a crime against America. Meanwhile, the same people who spent years yelling "lock her up" now believe accountability is some sort of woke conspiracy. I'm asked a lot, how would Lyndon Johnson think about Donald Trump? And I really think that 36 would put his arm around 45 and wish him well, earnestly. And he would also whisper in his ear something he used to say all the time as a word of encouragement and a warning joke. Just don't piss in the soup that all of us had to eat. Thank you very much. Good night. But here's the part where it gets really hilarious. Trump, the so-called tough guy, the self-styled fighter, melts down quicker than an ice cream cone. In July the 2, somebody calls him out. He's built a whole brand around being a winner, a man who never loses, and yet whenever he gets even the mildest of criticism, he gets all huffy. Like a kid who just got grounded from Fortnite for real, the man takes insults worse than a reality TV contestant on elimination night. Rather than refute Bryan with, I don't know, facts, the man begins ranting and raving like a washed-up Vegas illusionist who's just got called out for using the cards in the deck. Make America great again? My comment is, do you accept that might possibly be interpreted as a racist statement? Bryan Cranston there with what is possibly the most concise and to the point argument for why MAGA was a bit of a mad one, because what all these Trump folk didn't want to admit was when they said, "Make America great again," what they actually meant was make it back to the time when I could say and do what I want. And there were no repercussions. Bryan Cranston has delivered monologue so compelling, they've won Emmy. And Trump can't string two coherent sentences together without sounding like a malfunctioning chatbot. That's Trump in a nutshell. He can dish it out. But the moment somebody with the stature of Bryan Cranston gets back at him, he implodes like one of his busted casinos. A fighter, please. The only thing Trump's ever successfully fought was common sense. Hyperbole or hyperbole, pronounced by Julia Gillard as hyperbole. It is, of course, hyperbolic. Well, we're just over here at CPAC, where Donald Trump is addressing "Make America Great Again" is his mantra, but according to the actor, Bryan Cranston, that's racist. Listen to this. A lot of people go, how can that be racist? Make America great again. I said, so just ask yourself, from an African American perspective, when was it ever great in America for the African American? When was it great? So if you're making it great, including them. So it's to instruct us in the woke world. And let's not forget the never-ending parade of excuses. If there's one thing Trump does better than selling cheap red hats, it's playing the victim. Every setback, every criticism, every legal consequence. It's never his fault. Lost an election, rigged dozens of indictments, political harassment, accused of corruption, a deep state conspiracy, called out by a star, just another woke Hollywood elite. After him, it's the same grueling cycle again and again. Trump never loses. He's cheated. Trump doesn't violate laws. He's framed. Trump never lies. He's misstated. His whole political career is premised on being a perpet UAL target, that he's beleaguered by dark forces who allegedly are in awe of his greatness, and his base, they devour it like a limited edition. Trump steak. The fact is, when a man's targeted with 91 felony, counts dozens of civil cases, and vilified by all of them from ex-staff to world leaders, the logical conclusion is not that the world is colluding against him, it's that he's the issue, but reason, and Trump world are good as facts are at a MAGA rally. The moment someone feels the need to criticize their figurehead, his fans don't hesitate for self-awareness, They are in full-fledged attack mode. So it's to remind us in the woke universe to open our eyes and embrace the opportunities that our privilege has blinded us to. And perhaps I haven't witnessed what's actually occurring yet. In all these years, did MAGA supporters embrace his point? Yes, they immediately branded him another out-of-touch liberal who hates America. Because disagreement in their reality isn't an issue of different opinion, it's treason. It makes no difference that Cranston, like most sane Americans, simply holds that perhaps, just perhaps, a man awash in legal issues shouldn't be given the highest office in the land in MAGA reason. The actual issue isn't the guy with a RRA sheet longer than a CVS receipt. It's the people flagging it, and so Trump's base will again distort reality. Tighter than a conspiracy theorist on their 8th cup of coffee, they'll say Cranston's part of some enormous anti-Trump Hollywood machine, that he's a tool of the liberal elites who supposedly run everything, because admitting the plain truth that Trump's problems are of his own creation would blow their tightly spun web of illusion. So the pattern repeats with each indictment, each lawsuit, each scandal none of them holds in their minds as proof of bad behavior, but rather all just one more instance of poor innocent Donald being harassed by the deep state, the press, and anybody who tries to hold him accountable. But sooner or later, even the most die-hard supporter will wonder themselves if everybody from judges to journalists to Hollywood icons is calling out the same man for the same reasons. Is it really a conspiracy, or is it just the truth? I am not a politician. I am not a doctor or a lawyer but I played all of those on television. But I am a father of a daughter, and it matters to me for her life now and for the future. Other fathers' daughters to be able to have within their lifetime the basic right of freedom of choice. There should not be anyone but them determining what occurs. And you just know, Trump's going to cash in on the whole thing every bit as hard as he can. By next week, he'll most likely be offering limited edition Bryan Cranston roast NFTs, because nothing says completely not guilty, like frantically capitalizing on each scandal. Or perhaps he'll host another of his infamous rallies, where he goes on a 2-hour tangent about how Cranston is completely nobody with absolutely no talent, and also how he was the largest Breaking Bad enthusiast of all time, because consistency has never exactly been his strong point. Of course, the irony would be utterly lost on him, and in Trump's universe, the sole true offense is not showering him with unthinking praise. He's built a career on turning every personal humiliation into some grand conspiracy against him. So why stop now? By the time he's done, his followers will be certain that Cranston is a deep state agent who has been sent to take him down, financed by George Soros, the specter of Karl Marx, and maybe an elite group of Hollywood liberals who only speak through coded Emmy acceptance speeches, because when your whole political approach is constructed around grievance and victimhood, reality is just a small annoyance. You played Lyndon Johnson, you played Bob Macer, real-life history figures, anyone that you're considering or perhaps would enjoy playing. I'd like to play Donald Trump at some point. Really. He's gigantic. He's this Shakespearean figure, this Seurat, tragic, comedic figure who wouldn't want to take a bite out of that. Are you working on your gigantic? It's gigantic. Let me tell you something. And this, I can tell you, it is gigantic. You got it down already. Do I really like a car right now? Your Jerry Seinfeld's good too. Really? I'm going to put you on the spot though. It's good. No, I know. Jerry Seinfeld, in the meantime, Bryan Cranston is over here living best life, unbothered with awards, and demonstrating that possessing true talent trumps possessing a brittle ego any day of the week. While Trump gets himself into another self-inflicted breakdown, Cranston is bus. He adding to his already legendary career with ease, switching back and forth between dramatic performances, directing and producing highly acclaimed projects. The man doesn't need to scream about his success on social media. Every 5 minutes, his work does that. He's got range, credibility, and most importantly, the talent to string coherent sentences together without launching into an all-caps Twitter tirade. And let's be honest, there's something profoundly satisfying to see a battle-hardened pro totally take apart a guy who once looked directly into a solar eclipse on purpose. Cranston didn't simply mop the floor with Trump, he steam-mopped it, waxed it, and posted a warning sign so nobody else gets to slip on his garbage again. The difference between them couldn't be. Starker one is a multi-talented artist with respect throughout the entertainment industry. The other is a walking meme whose biggest accomplishment in recent years has been persuading millions of individuals that consuming bleach was a valid medical remedy. Trump is never one to let a small celebrity feud pass without fanning the flames into a full-blown circus. He feeds on distraction, and nothing diverts attention away from his legal woes like a good old-fashioned war of words with someone much more respected than he'll ever be. By the time the dust settles, we'll probably see him auctioning off signed copies of The Art of the Deal with an angry postscript about how Bryan Cranston was never that good of an actor anyway, because when all else fails, rewriting his history in his favor is the only trick he knows. So while Trump is busy rewriting reality to fit his story, Cranston is penning his next script, getting his next big role, and reminding everyone why true talent will always trump. Hollow bravado. Some fights don't have to be fought. They just have to be outclassed. And in this instance, the result was decided before Trump even uttered a word. So what's next? Will Trump debate Cranston? Will his fans boycott Breaking Bad, a decade behind schedule? Will we have an all-caps truth social breakdown where Trump swears he never even liked Bryan, while also insisting he's totally the next Walter White, who knows? But one thing is definite, Bryan Cranston just did what the justice system has yet to do, hold Trump accountable to the world and make it look easy.